71 degrees. I'm Sam Scott for KTUI.
Plains of Gasconade County, 43 pretty blue sky degrees here this morning on the high plains. And what a gorgeous day it's going to be. I think we've got today and most of the day tomorrow that's going to be no participation. But then tomorrow afternoon and toward the evening, or it's going to rain some, and it's okay. You know, it is what it is, but spring is getting closer. Dropped a little chilly last night, but things are still greening up, and we are out of February, so we can very much look forward to all things good as we move forward. But windy it was. I mean, we had end of February winds last week that really caused a lot of significant damage around. We went to New Haven the other night and talked with some people, and there was numerous barns that blew down in a certain area. They call it microburst. Winds that came up, and it blew here too, pretty hard, didn't it, Grace?
It did.
Did it blow any wood in your yard or anything, or
I wish, but I don't think that was the case.
It blew hard out there. Out south of Rosebud, it knocked over lawn furniture and took some tin off of my building.
Yeah, it's we've been having those blasts of wind and tornadoes that are rocking a lot of part of the world. So it's just the weather pattern that we seem to be in, and that's something that we'll be talking about this morning here on KTUI 1560 AM, 94.1 FM, or possibly you're watching on Facebook Live, because today we have with us our Gasconade County Emergency Management Director, Mr. Clyde Zelsch Jr. I'm just going to call him Clyde because he's been here before numerous times, and I've worked with Clyde in just about a lot of different capacities over our lifetime, Clyde.
And I'm one of two Clydes. Just not to
You are one of
too
two.
confused with the older Clyde.
Not to say that they're unique. You know what I'm saying? Both of the Clydes are very unique, and they come from good line of stock through and through. There's no doubt about it, and they've all got opinions, correct, Clyde, to some degree, just like the Schlotticks do.
Yeah, we're pretty hard-headed, just like the Schlotticks. We've got something in common. And on the tornado, next week, on the 7th, but next week is National Weather Service Week, and on the 7th, there's probably going to be tornado drills throughout the United States, just thinking about it. So if you hear something at about noon, it's probably on the 7th, which would be next week, Tuesday. It should be the tornado drill.
So there's a lot here, Clyde, and we have an awful lot to talk about because when I was in Gasconade County Commissioner, most of the responsibility of Emergent Management Director fall into purview of the nuclear plant that is within 10 miles of Gasconade County. So therefore, we had to have a management plan in case something ever happened to the nuclear plant to be able to evacuate and take care of the needs of people, livestock, and property if something was to occur there. And part of your salary was paid for by Ameren UE at that point, and I guess still is.
Still, all the money that comes to the department, to my agency, comes from Ameren. So, just like this past Tuesday, we had a large-scale drill that you probably used to be a part of, where we get all the different agencies together and we have a tabletop exercise as to, well, what if there was a problem? How would we evacuate? Would we, say, shelter in place? What would we do with the animals? So, but over the years, the agency that I work for, which is just me, part-time for Gasconade County, has had to look at the whole county if there was a tornado, if there's a large fire, if there's civil unrest, if there's just, like we just had ice storms and power lines that might come down. So the job just kept growing and growing and growing. But this past Tuesday, yes, we were focused at the Callaway Power Plant, and that went real well.
And let's talk about that first and foremost. And you know, I know there's a lot of other information that maybe interest people, you know, more because, you know, we have all of those above disasters, and we have had, and we got to prepare for them also. But in regard to the tabletop exercise, it's kind of interesting because, you know, you're sitting in a room with, you know, the Sheriff's Department, emergency management, of course, is yourself. You've got people from the state there. You've got people there that's going to grade you.
From FEMA,
You've got people from
grading
FEMA. You've got other elected officials in there sitting, the commission.
Mowed out the road department is.
You know, the road department, and you've got all these, you know, chiefs of police and do whatever. You know, in order to put some realism, you know what I'm saying, to the emergency if it were to occur at the nuclear plant. And within that scenario, you're given certain data in regard to what the wind direction is, what the wind speed is, you know, how critical, how bad was this emergency that they're having there on site. Was there any release of any, not only air plume, but was there any release in contamination of the water? You know, all of those factors are given to you, correct?
Right.
And then that's what you have
And
to
you don't
deal
know.
with.
I mean, they
And you don't know. They throw it out with you. And then you'll have situations like, during the evacuation, the bridge got, you know, somebody got turned over in a bridge and can't get through
This
there.
past time was as bad as they had ever done. We pretended, we planned. They said, well, okay, there's a plume and the wind direction's going right to you, which it's way better if it's going anywhere else than Gasconade County. The bridge is out because of an earthquake. A train derailed because of an earthquake. Power lines are down because of this massive earthquake. So we was down to plan A, B, C, D, before I could finally really decide what are we really going to do with the people in Morrison and Gasconade, and how am I going to get them out? But I think that the exercise went real well. Everybody there.
Well, did everybody think that? I mean,
We saved everybody. We saved
all the
everybody.
cows and the chickens, you know?
We saved everybody. I think everybody was impressed. I know the FEMA man told me after we were done that it was as good as he had ever seen. That was only my second year, and you know, so that was probably a pretty good compliment. He's been doing this for years, so I think it went real well. We got another one April 18th.
And we now look, you know, make light a little bit, you know what I'm saying, of what it is. But, you know, you've been around emergency situations long enough, served on the fire department, served on the ambulance, was in the war, you know, was in, you know, overseas. You know what a real emergency is, and you know the only way to prepare for an emergency is drill, 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 drill. Correct?
Have some plans, and then not just practice, but perfect practice. You can practice, but if you're practicing wrong, then that's what you're going to do. But yeah, I have seen, overseas in particular, I've seen horrific explosions where people, you know, were killed. Here, though, we're dealing with people from Gasconade County, but as you remember now, there's Gasconade County, Osage County, Montgomery County, Callaway County. These four counties have to work together, just like brothers and sisters. They've got to get along because of the power plant. And so I got to rely on those other counties, and they have to rely on me. Just when in this scenario, when the train derailed and it was in a different county, of course, at first you're thinking, okay, thank God it wasn't Gasconade County in this scenario. But you still end up, you have these four counties, and you have people in need. So they
got mutual aid.
Mutual aid. Now send me help. So that went well. I would say that most people don't know, I would say most people in Gasconade County don't really know how much planning goes into the northern end of the county and making sure that we could help if there was a problem at the power plant. But have you ever been to the nuclear or the Callaway power plant?
Oh, yes. several times.
I went there twice, and the first time I didn't know any more than anybody else. And I was impressed at how. I mean, they are very safe. They are well laid out. I can't imagine that there would be a problem that they wouldn't be able to deal with right there. I don't see it being possible to grow, but we're still planning in case of that reality if it came true. But I was impressed.
Well,
when I went there.
it is an impressive place, and the security is impressive, and the protocol is impressive in regard to what they do and what, you know, what they're prepared to do. But, you know, the truth of the matter is, you just don't know. I mean, we are in the fault, you know, of
New
the Madrid fault line, and that plant is not that far off of it. You know what I'm saying? So is it possible? We need to be prepared, you know, if it is, because it could be, you know, it could be substantial, but and then all of the I know that a lot of nuclear plants are to the point where they were supposed to be decommissioned. You know, they were supposed to have a 20-year, 40-year, 50-year shelf life or life that they could do. Now a lot of plants, some have been shut down and cleaned up, but a lot of them have renewed their application because they've only built, I think, like 2 or 3 new nuclear plants in this country in the past
And
10
Callaway
years.
is the only one we have in the whole state of Missouri.
Yeah. So, you know, and, you know, they are, I just read recently, like 100 and some nuclear plants in this country, you know,
I
and
think they're
so,
probably going to have to start building more.
well, we're going to have to look at, you know, electric is going to be here, you know, and the increase in electric is going to be significant, whether, you know, we think it sometimes or not, Clyde, you know, because we all like our gas engines and those things, but we will see, and we will experience a lot more electric cars coming down the road. I was listening on Fox Business this morning, where Tesla and you know he was talking about, and I don't know, but he was talking about dropping the price of electric cars from somewhere in the 40s to somewhere in the 20s thousands in the next few years ahead. That's significant, and that will create a new demand
Well,
level.
just let the market, the free market, capitalism, just kind of work
Exactly.
its way through, and in whatever direction we're supposed to go, the market will push us there.
And one of my favorite authors that I read, you know, quite a bit is Dennis Warden, and he even said in a paper this week that, you know, somewhere down the road, you know, electric vehicle, you know, might be people's second vehicle, and that's very true. You know, I mean,
start in cities.
I can see it, you know, occurring. You know, and there's still those scenarios that are scary, but the bottom line of it is, we got to find generation power, okay, that is safe and effective, you know, to able to find energy sources that everybody can live with.
Well, after touring the Callaway power plant, and I told you I was impressed with their security. I was impressed with how they produce electricity. I was impressed by the many layers of if there's a problem, well, we've got these other plans in place. So, in my opinion, if they built power plants like I saw there, they should probably build a few more in the United States, and we should start going in that direction.
And I would concur that that's
That seems like the likely direction to go.
when I was in school, and you're not, well, you're quite a bit younger than I, but
Thank you.
you know, that was, you know,
My birthday is in
electric was
a
going to
few
be,
days.
nuclear was going to be cheap. It was going to cost nothing for the fuel for electric. You know, the uranium or whatever was it, but a little bit of fuel stick, you could get how many kilowatts or gigabytes or whatever they talk about out of this little fuel stick when you put them in there and they heat it up, and it was virtually no fuel cost. But it's not all about fuel. It does cost quite a bit to build those plants and have you know
Get
those.
certified welders in there.
Yeah. So anyway, we're glad you're here and doing that in regard to, you know, the select population in the northern end of the county that would be first impacted by that. Not that we couldn't all be impacted tremendously. Nobody is totally safe, or there'd be a total meltdown
Well, if
there.
there was a problem, I'm pushing people farther
That's
south,
right.
you know, I'm pushing them this way.
So, but let's talk about the other practical things that people need to do, and you need to think about as emergency management director.
Let's
What
put a
if
plug in for
what
that video.
what if we had a train derailment like they have in Ohio? Which there's so much on the news about it. Is it safe? Is it not safe? Is the water contaminated? Are the people in harm's way? What information source, does the one you really use, you know what I'm saying, to make public decisions in regard to what is safe and what's not?
Well, and even that, just watching the news, I thought, whose decision was it to decide to have a controlled burn? And now that plume that come up out of that controlled burn, at first I thought, well, they would be better off having a small affected area, and you just say, oh my God, it was a terrible accident, but it's this small affected area. Then they do a controlled burn, the plume comes up, and I don't know how far it covered, but miles upon miles upon miles. So, I wondered whose decision was that? Doesn't seem like the right decision to me. It seems like a wrong decision. When I got to looking into, say, Herman and Gasconade, or even Morrison, where the railroad runs through, it just seems mostly that it's Amtrak, and it seems mostly that it's people. Thank God for that.
Well,
I
but
don't know how you can possibly really know always every car all the time. But it seems like we might be lucky that most of our track is people.
Oh, I disagree.
What do you think it is?
Oh, it's industrial. I don't think there's more than, 4 Amtrak trains, maybe 6 a day, and I would think that all the other traffic on there is probably tenfold that. You know what I'm saying, or something like that. There's a lot of
There's a lot. And
there's a lot of train traffic. Well, you're there in the courthouse. You can't see what's going by, but every couple hours. Right?
I can hear what's going by.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily
Every couple
see it.
hours there's something there going by. And yes, there are chemicals there, that is used in, industry. There are, products that are unstable, that are flammable, that are all part of the traffic that goes on, on there continually. And you and I, neither one are
Maybe
big
it's just
regulationist.
wishful thinking on my part. I'm in the hopes that we never have that problem. But there's more train derailments than I have ever seen in my lifetime right now.
Well, it's
Not here, but on the news.
no.
You hear
Well,
it all the time, and you think,
wasn't
where
it
is this
Greece or
happening?
somewhere they killed 30 of them?
Yeah.
30 people here just this week. So those are things that are going to happen. But how do you prepare for them? And what do you tell people? And how do you people living by the railroad track? How do you?
Right now, what I have been doing is talking to the Herman Fire Department, talking to the Herman Ambulance, because, again, the railroad runs on the northern end of the county right now.
Yeah, nothing comes through Rosebud yet.
When I was a boy.
I know.
When I
Do
was
you
a boy,
remember that?
Yeah, I remember getting on the cars when I wasn't supposed to. I don't want to, Mom's listening, so I don't want to tell her all the details, but yeah, I got on the cars when we weren't supposed to. Hi, Mom. Thought I was going to run away, and I sat there and the car didn't go anywhere. Sat there for a day. I got hungry, so I got back off and went and ate. Now I'm still here. But,
Yes, but-
now that's going to be the Katy Trail, right? That's going to be a trail that you go through. But as far as Herman goes, I've been talking to the fire department, the ambulance. I've been talking to anybody that would be the first responders if we had any kind of a problem, any kind of a derailment. putting a name and a face together and making sure that we've got resources lined up and numbers that we know who to call. And as far as preparing, each agency they're doing their own hazmat. They're getting trained. I think we're as prepared as we can be for a small county with limited resources. And then in my case, I make sure that I know if there was a problem and we cannot do it all on our own, well, then here's the next number to call and the next number to call so that we're not wasting time.
You know, some disasters that one of the biggest disasters that I recall is when the tornado hit south of Owensville, and
Landwehr subdivision there.
that was
Landwehr subdivision.
yeah, and that was I don't know, but I happened to be in Rosebud that day because we had a shooting match for the JCs, and I was taking the meat truck back and driving that back to Union, and that tailwind pushed me to Union a lot quicker, and I met all but I met all of the mutual aid coming from Franklin County to help that situation because they were 30, 40 homes
I
destroyed
remember
there.
just helping with security there because I was fairly young, just to make sure that nobody walked off with someone's items, and I don't think we had a real problem with that. I mean, I don't remember.
No.
But either way, we made sure that there was some people who said, I'll keep an eye on things, and I was one of them.
So, for any emergency, what's the best thing to keep your family safe?
Somehow I want to tell the audience to be able to go to the Gasconade County Emergency Management Agency Facebook page, and then they should be able to find the same YouTube video that you just pulled up. I know it's at the Herman newspaper has a advertisement. I know that Owensville or Gasconade County Republican has an advertisement. So the general audience, whether they're from Gasconade County or not, would benefit by a video that my son and I made and we produced and we put on. It's only 3 or 4 minutes, and it shows what you just watched, and it demonstrates some different things you can do to get prepared. But basically, to me, we're fortunate. God has already blessed us to live in kind of the best swath of the United States of America, in my opinion, and the best country out of the 30 countries that I ever went to anyway. So one of the best things a person can do is to get more food, get more water, and to think just a little bit of how you can take care of yourself for a week rather than to just, your entire plan is to use your finger and dial 911 when the phone may or may not work. So like I said at the very end of my video, no one takes care of you better than you. You have to take some personal responsibility for your family, especially the man as the head of the household. The mom can either learn how to can or just go to the store and buy more food, things that are going to last a while. Make sure you have a can opener, have some water. Realize that there's a lot of water in most houses, so if the water stops, you probably still have water in your hot water tank. You have water in your toilet bowl, but it's not the bowl, it's the tank. So get prepared now rather than to wait until I've had people call me and say, well, my electricity is out, and now I'm cold, which I totally get. But it's their fault for relying only on one way to heat their home. They should have had wood, they should have had propane, and you maybe have electricity. People have got to learn that you have to start getting ready to take care of yourself and not rely on the government so much. Now, there you go. There's
All of
my
us,
soapbox.
most everybody out here has, or a lot of people have rural roots, okay? And, what you're talking about is absolutely first line, practical kind of stuff that we've seen our mothers and dads, our grandpa and grandpas or whatever do.
They just
they just
normally
did it
do it.
naturally to do that. And most of us are in that particular situation. But it's not practical, you know what I'm saying, in a lot of areas to have, just a wood stove or a wood furnace or whatever, you know what I'm
A
saying?
kerosene heater or a little propane heater
Right.
is very easy.
They go an awful long way, but even like kerosene or the propane, you got to be careful with them,
Yeah.
and you have to learn how and be experienced using them, not just on the day. But
And there's less people that are used to it. I mean, once upon a time, everyone did it. Now, very few people. If you said a kerosene heater, most people probably don't have that.
we got propane and we got electric, at the house. But turn the propane stove on, turn the gas oven on, and it'll do a pretty good job keeping your pipes from breaking.
Cook a turkey that night.
Yeah, well,
Also on this video, I demonstrate pepper spray for self-defense, whether it be for animals or just an intruder. I demonstrate some basic firearm skills. I think that I feel lucky, like you said, that we're in an area that grandpas and grandmas taught us a lot of these things. And as you get closer to the city, it's not so easy for them to have some of these things. But still, if we had a major problem, the residents from the city may have to come this way. Now, even at my house, we keep medicine. I keep medicine, I keep food, I keep a lot of things like cots, blankets, enough that I could take care of everybody in my neighborhood. I mean, I live out in the country, but I could take care of 100 people if I needed to. I've got that supply.
I'll be remembering
If
that.
there's a problem, hopefully not everybody comes, but I'm serious. You can't just say I want to take care of myself, because that's not who we should be. I'm prepared to look after a lot of people. Now, as Gasconade County Emergency Management Agency Director, I have strategically placed electric generators, cots, blankets, food, and other things throughout the county in different places. If there was a flood, I've got sandbags. If there's tornado, I've got supplies as best as I can. And we're a small rural county, so there's only so much you can have. But we're prepared. We're much better prepared than I think a lot of other places.
Oh, I concur because of there again, your clientele, the roots that they have, and the country boys can survive, and that's part of the strategy, of course, to do that. But it is not unheard of. I mean, I talked about the tornado, but I remember here also that we were out of electric for numerous days.
Even a week. I've seen a week.
In a week, and even today, when that was occurred, maybe I don't know, maybe 15, 20 years back, whenever that was, maybe longer than that. But even today, that scares me a lot to be without electric for not myself, but we're relying on that water to our cattle strung all over, and even the other day when it was, or in December when we had 35 below wind chill, we got good waters. You remember that at the 19th of, or whenever it was, the 19th of December. We're in pretty good shape. We've got waters everywhere that, will run. You turn a valve on and they'll continue to circulate and do whatever. Some of those froze up because I was too conservative when I opened a little padcock on there, because 35 below, who thinks of that? I mean, the only other time was 37 years ago when we had kind of that same weekend and when it was 60-some below. But anyway, what happens when the water goes down? So I have a generator here, what I'm saying? I'd have to do some wiring, a little bit, but I think I could run the
Turn the
well.
well on?
I could run the well.
The county has a big enough generator that I can take that generator and go to each city that has a water tower and run their well. So I would have to bounce around a little bit, but I could go to each town in Gasconade County, turn and stay there until that well and that water tower is full, and then go to the next one. And
Run on propane, or what's it run on?
now it runs on diesel.
Okay,
But
well,
I mean,
whatever.
it's full, and I have enough diesel that.
Yeah. Well, you
And,
get
and I
available.
can go to the gas station and
If they-
power the diesel pumps up to keep. So we're ready.
Oh,
for
I
that.
see what. Yeah.
We're ready for that. And I could see if you lost electricity. To me, if you lose electricity, it really isn't a big deal for a while because of the way I live. I don't depend on it as much as most people. But if you had a medical condition, and that is keeping you alive, now that's something needs to be thought out a little bit. And that's the other thing, is that I try to keep a list, and I try to keep apprised of who maybe would need extra help. If there was a real problem, I know that this person cannot take care of themselves very well. And of course, they could call 911, but I'm saying I also try to keep track of that in every area, so that if there was a problem and we need to evacuate or just get them help, I can at least go there, knock on the door and say,
Right.
do you need help?
Right. And you know, I rely on like a CPAP, that I have. And, if the electric goes off, that's one of the things I would not have. I'd be all right for, maybe forever, but, it's not as comfortable
You'd
without
be
it.
like me and not get any sleep.
You know what I mean?
I thought about that. I don't sleep well. Ever since I came back from overseas, my wife said, you do not sleep. If there's just a little bit of, I guess I'm a little paranoid on the sleeping. I spent years and years in Africa, and they would celebrate when the electricity came on, because it was mostly off. So when it would come on, everyone would go out in the street, celebrate the on, and then they would hurry up and fill up every container, because the well would now be usable. They'd fill every jug, every container, everything, because it may only be on an hour, so you better be in a hurry. Now here, if electricity goes out, we make a phone call and say why, and how long before you get it fixed, because I'm paying you for something. Well, we're lucky here, and it's easy to kind of not realize how lucky you are.
And cell phones are a good emergency, situation. You'll be able to inform, people that, you maybe couldn't. And I think most of these cell towers have their own generation, to a big degree. But you got to think where these calls are going to for emergency. You know what I'm saying? And how overwhelmed are they, or how are the resources to get that emergency to you when the whole area has emergencies? So,
And most of your landlines also have generating systems. So if you're ever out of power, you can usually pick up your landline and you still hear the dial tone. It still works. So I just want anybody that's listening to know that I'm confident that every county has someone like me. It may be a much bigger county, maybe 4 or 5 people working at it, but they're looking at different strategies and different ways to be better prepared in case there's an emergency. There is someone, you might want to reach out to them. Like here, Clyde Zelch, I represent Gasconade County. But you could reach out to them and get some ideas of things that they particularly should maybe do in the area they're in. It's different if you're in Morrison and Gasconade County than it is if you're from Redbird or Owensville or Rosebud. Your area of concern might be slightly different. So,
yeah. There's no question about it. And when the population in the rural areas, rely on each other, to a big degree if there is an emergency, because even right in this particular area, if our electric goes down, the odds are that my neighbor Danny, theirs probably will be on because they're served by Ameren, and we are served by Three Rivers, or, they're several different, and know that. I mean, as you live in a rural area, you realize, yeah, and there's Crawford comes in there close.
Yeah.
So think about it and be aware of that. Be aware of that. Well, if you don't have water, or if Three Rivers are down, or if that one particular line is down, where might be another supplier, that you could go get water or, something from.
Well,
so
that's the advantage of being a rural area, advantage. There are people in the city, they don't even know who their neighbor is. They don't know who lives in the apartment house maybe, or a complex there. But out here, if you have a problem, you should ask your neighbor for help. And just like they should ask you if they had a problem.
Some of the emergency things. I mean, first of all, I would think if there's any emergency comes about, take care of you and your family. Make sure that you do a head count. Make sure that and there are communication with people that if your grandma lives in the same area or whatever, that they're okay, and do whatever, and and take that head count first, and get your group, and then and think about the essentials that you're going to need. Water, and there are places to get water. Even if you had to go here and if you had a fire and had to use some water out of the creek, or something, you boil that, you do whatever. I don't know that it would ever come to that. Or like you said, most of these places in the country have their own well, so shut off. You know what I'm saying? Everything, because most of them got a pressure tank there. Probably got 30-gallon water in it. If you are conservative, you can get by a long time just for drinking. In regard to that. But
If
then
you boil your water, or if you have these straws, I've went on 30-mile walks where you have straws that you can drink right out of the creek, but it's a filtering straw. Yeah, I've done it many times. Done it with my two sons, and they said, "Dad, are you sure this is a 30-mile deal?" So 2 days later, I was there, and they were a little ahead of me, but I made it. I made it 30 miles, and we slept overnight. But other than that, it was hard walking. But you could go straight to the creek and drink water right out of that creek with a filtered straw that anyone can buy. You can eat these MREs, but if there's a problem, don't eat as much. Be a little more conservative. And luckily in this country, within a week, most of the time we're back on our feet and going.
right, but things, there's a lot of, I'm thinking about meat because it's a great source of protein. It'll get you through a lot of situations, but dried jerky, snack
And of course,
sticks.
we can all our meat.
You're right, or right, but any of that is, you could probably put enough jerky in a box, you know what I'm saying, to sustain a family, a small box for several weeks. You know what I'm saying?
Beans,
If you
rice, little meat.
dried fruit,
little water.
all in these bags now, you know what I'm saying, that are shrink
I
wrapped,
think you could go to
that
the dollar
absolutely
store.
last forever.
You could go to the dollar store. Now, you can't wait till everybody in the county is at the dollar store, but you could go to the dollar store, and for $30, you could walk out and have a lot more than you, because you're thinking about it, you could get a little more prepared, which is really the whole point for me, making a video or talking at different times, is for them to know that there is someone like me that's trying to get the county prepared, and then at the same time to remind them, help me out by getting your family better prepared. And that if nothing comes out of just today, if we just remind someone and they take the initiative to get a little more prepared, and now when an emergency comes up, they're really not part of the emergency, that would be great.
Get you a bag, and get you a case of water, some dried fruit, some whatever, put it away. Get your flashlight, you know what I'm saying, and some batteries, that you can.
I have propane lights even, so I have solar
Sure.
lights, propane lights. I have a propane refrigerator. So if the electricity went out at my house, you would have to call and tell me. I wouldn't know.
Campers are probably the most qualified, to some degree, to be survivalists, because they've got everything there in the camper. You know what I'm saying? Probably some kindling wood and some wood, and something to cook on. Some.
When I was in Afghanistan for a while, for a year and a half, there was a big giant snowstorm. A lot of people died. When I thought of Afghanistan coming from Rosebud, I was thinking, just like I had went to Iraq, I was thinking desert. But where I was at was mountainous. The biggest snowstorm, biggest blizzard I have ever been a part of in my life was in Afghanistan. Many people died in that storm. Lasted a week. And
What latitude are they on? Or is it pretty close to our latitude? I don't even know.
I would say it's higher than that.
Higher, okay.
But I was almost always on the Iranian border. So if I was in Iraq, I was on the Iranian border of Iraq. And if I was in Afghanistan, same thing, Iranian border.
Well, that's where
And that was where the problems
that's where the problem
were.
occurred.
And sometimes I would, well, we're not supposed to say we went to Iran. And just like there's a kind of a finger that goes into China from Afghanistan. And then I spent years in Africa. In Africa, I never saw it get cold. I saw it get mighty hot, and sandstorms that you just couldn't believe. The pyramids were interesting for a guy from Rosebud to stand on the pyramids or touch the Sphinx or swim in the Nile. I lived on the Nile for a year, so I've been able to survive in some pretty not so great. And when they would ask me, where do you want to deploy to, I would always tell them, as far away from the flagpole. You know what I mean by that? As far away from the flagpole as possible. Well,
Oh, well, okay.
meaning wherever the generals are, I don't want to be there.
I understand.
Get me as far away from them guys as possible.
Yeah, yep.
Which normally meant no electricity, no food, and you took a bath in the Nile River.
So we're talking with Gasconade County's Emergency Management Director, Mr. Clyde Zelch, and we've been going through particular scenarios to help you get prepared for the things that we don't know that more than likely will be coming, or now or somewhere down the road. So we're going to continue that, discussion, and then we're going to talk about some other things that Clyde has going on here. But we're going to take a little break here on KTUI, 1560 AM, 94.1 FM, and Facebook Live, and let Gracie tell you what's going on in our neck of the woods this weekend. And Grace, we're in March, so that's a pretty good sign that spring is here.
They are. Events are starting to pick up.
Events are starting to pick up, and that's good.
It is good. The Owensville Moose Lodge is having a barbecue Saturday, March 4th, starting at 11 a.m. Plates are $12 and sandwiches are $7. Carryouts are available, and that's at the Moose Lodge in Owensville. The Immaculate Conception Catholic Church in Owensville is having a fish and shrimp fry Friday, March 3rd, serving from 4 until 7 p.m. They will also have it March 10th, 17th, 24th, and 31st as well. Meals are $12 and sandwiches are $5, and that is drive-through only.
So that was the
Immaculate Conception Catholic Church
in
in Owensville.
Owensville.
Gasconade County Republican Lincoln Day Banquet is Friday, March 10th. Dinner will be served at 6:30. Guest speaker will be Mike Kehoe. Reservations in advance are $20. After March 3rd or 25, and at the door are 25 as well. And that's at St. James UCC Fellowship Hall in Charlotte.
We know where that is.
We do.
I was just going to
In
ask, where's
Owensville.
that? But it's normally there, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. So what's on the menu? Does it say?
I'm excited about that one.
Meatless lasagna.
Well, no, that's for those who
That's
want it.
on request, yeah. But no, it doesn't say.
I bet it's good.
I'm sure it will be.
I guarantee it'll be good.
The Owensville Senior Center is having a corned beef and cabbage dinner, carry out or dine in, Sunday, March 12th. They'll be serving from 10:30 until 1:30. Adults are $11, ages 10 and under are $6, and that's a fundraiser to support the Owensville Senior Center.
That's always a good thing. The senior center provides a great service to seniors. I'm going to get up there one of these days and watch that. But they've got good food, good fellowship, and it's a good place to go for a good lunch.
It is. It's a good thing. There's a benefit for Tyra Mangrum Saturday, March 18th here at the White Mule. Doors will open at 5 p.m. Tickets are $50 per person. Tickets can be purchased at First State Community Bank or Seago's Auto Body in Owensville. Silent auction will be from 5 until 7. Dinner's at 5:30. Live auction at 7:30. And DJ will be following the auction. All money will be raised for help with medical bills, expenses for the family. Tyra Mangrum is a young woman who was diagnosed with breast cancer this past fall. So if you would just come out and support her family.
She lives right down the road here, between here and Rosebud, and a wonderful family. We go to church with her mother and are her mother-in-law and her father-in-law, and they've got two kids,
Two young kids.
and we wish her all the best. The prognosis is good at this juncture, but
I believe she finished her chemo last week.
Okay.
So she's done
But-
that. So
we all know that someone in that particular situation, I don't care who you are, that it taxes your resources when you're off of work that much, and we're going to be there for her.
yes, we will be.
What are they serving that day?
You can put me on the spot. I don't remember.
Food.
Food. I believe one entree will be the brisket. I'm pretty
Okay,
sure.
all right.
Yeah. But it'll be good.
It'll be good.
It'll be good. Gaston County Republican Club is having a meeting that is open to the public Monday, March 6th at 7 p.m. at the Swiss Evangelical Reformed Church Hall. They'll have coffee and cookies. Speakers will be Dr. Hardy, Tim Schulte, and Assessor Paul Schulte, also Jordan Lotman with the fire department. This Friday night at the White Mule, we will be serving our steaks, catfish, shrimp, beef kebabs, and country fried steak from 5 until 8:30. We will have pizza, wings, and hamburgers from noon until 5 on Saturday, and then our steak dinners after that. Sunday is all-you-can-eat pan-fried chicken from 11 until 3:30.
Well, I'm
Sounds
just
good.
hearing that.
So, just a note there that Jordan Lotman is going to be speaking, at the Gasconade County Republican Club, versus the committee. It's two different organizations there, but I'm sure that he's going to be talking about the Gerald Rosebud Fire District and the potential for them to, I guess, change their taxing levy, in order for them to do more funding that they need, and we're going to reach out to him and get Jordan here. Okay, it's April 4th. I'm sure is the election, so we've got a little time to do that. But I want to get the word out and make sure that everybody understands what we're doing here and what the fire department does. We can't get along without them. I know that. They're the first line of defense on any
It's
emergency.
still a volunteer fire department.
They're volunteer, and it's, they need our support. There's no question about it at all. And we'll find out the details of that and what they're asking for, because I'm not sure that I know. But
Yeah, I'm not sure that I know. I know that I was on the fire department years ago. Dad was on the fire department years ago. There's a lot of good men and women on the fire department donating their time, so we always want to support them.
exactly, there's no question about it
And
at all.
you didn't have that, but DJ Shockley's son, which would be Dean Shockley, there should be a benefit in Rosebud American Legion. I don't know what day. He's got, Dean Shockley? So DJ's son has brain, he and I was served in the Air Force mostly the same time. He's got brain cancer of some sort, and it is very, very bad, which is similar to my brother Frank. It just seems strange. They both basically have the same problem from the same town at the same time. But anyway, our prayers.
Okay, I did, yeah, absolutely. Our thoughts and prayers go out to both of those, and we'll continue to do that. So, other things that Clyde has got going on, and, a lot of times you'll come here and we'll talk about this, and you got your bluegrass, this is 7th annual. You've been doing it that long?
We've been doing it at least 7 years. For years, we've been doing something. We were doing rendezvous, which was 3 days long, but that's too many days for me. So now we're just doing Bluegrass Festival, one day. I'm always excited about this. We meet all kinds of people that I would have no real reason to meet otherwise. Just good, like-minded people that enjoy bluegrass music in the country. So tell them about it. Read it.
Well, you go ahead.
May the 6th, which must be a Saturday, and it may still seems like it's a ways off. I'll advertise it in the papers. We'll put it on the radio. But May the 6th, we'll have our 7th annual Bluegrass Music Festival south of Rosebud, Highway T. Clyde Zelch will be at the Zelch Welding and or Zelch Farms location. A lot of people have been there. There's at least 2 bands that'll be playing. My wife cooks all the food. It's totally free. You just show up with a lawn chair. She'll feed you, listen to the music, look at all the log cabins that I have found and moved and rebuilt over the years, which is 13, 14 different cabins.
Pretty cool.
It's a lot of stuff. So when you get tired of listening to the music, well, then you go look at a blacksmith. There's usually 2 or 3 people demonstrating. Blacksmiths are always there, and they'll be hammering and making things and answering questions for you. So
Who's the Gasconade River Band? Who'd that include?
Ronnie Limburg,
Okay.
from Owensville. I went to school with Ronnie, and then Joe Smith, who's a son-in-law, he came here and played one time here.
Okay.
Those both
Good.
are out. Now, so there's people I don't necessarily know, but those two I know, and they are outstanding. And they get up there. We've got a whole stage set up, and it's probably 4 or 5 hours of music.
You know, last year you had that.
Last year was our biggest year. I'm hoping for the last.
Well, and there was two people that came in here. One of them that I used to work with, that come from almost the Arkansas line. You know what I'm saying? To come to your place to listen to that. And then then they came here, and I think they ended up spending the night in a bed and breakfast because, you know, we had room after they were here. Leland Gravitt was his name, and he was worked with Mormons feed company as I did, and he was higher echelon, of course, than I was, but you know, enjoyed it immensely, and it was good to see, you know, him there, and then another person that I knew drove a long way. So I was impressed, Clyde, that your network, you know, and
we had a van load of Amish, and we had a van load of Old Order Mennonite. The Mennonites were from Versailles area,
right.
and the Amish group was from Macomb.
Yep.
Let me think what's the next town though, but they were from way down Kabul, and then, but I don't know how they heard about it, but they showed up and they enjoyed it, and I had several of them say, wow, you know, it's a good environment, so you don't have to worry about, is it an appropriate place. It's fun, it's
No
music. It's
Good
plenty
food,
of
good people, good culture.
So
good
so May the
traditions.
6th, I want to make sure that May the 6th, you're invited to Bluegrass Music Festival. Now, I use the word festival loosely because to me, festival probably is a bigger event. This would be a Bluegrass Music Day, but I like the word festival. So that day we'll have the music, and you are welcome to come.
You don't have the carnival don't come in or nothing. You
No,
know?
no, but-
Not
but
yet.
we have a lot of
no,
people, but there's
I
no
know.
money.
You know, it is great situation, but you do have a lot of things there that kids are going to enjoy.
Oh, my God. I
And
have
be
2
part of that,
trampolines.
and yes.
I have 17 grandchildren, so I've already got 2 trampolines and swings and horses and ponies and pigs and cows. So if a family comes and they've got little ones, there's plenty for them to do. Usually they get into trampolines, and then we zip that shut so that they can't bounce out of it. It's a big deal, and people ask me, why would you? You know, there's no money to make it. It's just an invitation. But why is mostly because I love doing it. I love having people, whether I know them or not, come and enjoy something and shake hands, and these things remind me of a time that seems to be forgotten anymore.
And I appreciate you stirring the pot with those old traditions.
Keep 'em
because they're extremely important of who we are and where we have been. And so we have been talking with Clyde, and it's always a pleasure.
Thank you for having me.
Good to have you here, and even better to have you along today. And hope you enjoyed or picked up a few ideas here in regard to making yourself a little more prepared for the inevitable somewhere down the road to occur. And Gracie, who do we got next week?
I believe we have somebody from Farm Bureau next week.
Okay.
Not sure who it will be yet.
It's Farm Bureau Week, yes, and you know, that'll be a good show, and it'll be interesting, and we're going to get down into, you know, what they're working on. Of course, Farm Bureau. There's always, you know, political activities there that we need to be aware of and be supportive of. So they'll be here, and we'll be talking with them, and we hope you're along with us next week. God bless you, and we will see you next week.